Thing like that. This week we're going to do a lesson on the wickedness of bonds of sin. How when people don't have a proper understanding of following the Most High, sometimes we're so hard on ourselves once we sin or make an error. But at the same time, it's warranted, because when you're dealing with sin and you deal with these spirits on a level of darkness that we don't understand, that they become so familiar with us and ride with us so long that we think it's part of our personality or part of who we are as an individual. So when we get mad or get attitudes or wake up grouchy, we think it's just part of our inner selves that, we just got to get going, a cup of coffee. But sometimes we have to beware, because these spirits are dark, and they're dark on a high level. They're not just spirits that get in you and you can pray out here and there and repent and then they just go away. It's a concerned effort that you have to put into cleansing yourself from these spirits. And we were talking about it Wednesday, how we was explaining the tenets of fasting, how fasting is not put there to cleanse you from something. Fasting is a sacrifice you do for the Most High. So you must be cleansed to bring your sacrifice. You can't think you're going to fast and get rid of a spirit as far as dealing with your personal self. You have to first come away from the sin. Come away from it from a time, and then fast and offer your sacrifice. And then through the strength of the Most High that you get with working with the Most High will do both. So we want to get that understanding. We was teaching that Wednesday, that Elder Ricard was teaching a lesson on the elders class about fasting is based on as a sacrifice. Like when the Bible said, put your sacrifice down and go make peace with your brother. Well, that's the same thing with fasting. You first must be right with the Most High to come and bring a sacrifice, because fasting is a what? Sacrifice to the Most High. So you can't start something bad in your life or start a habit or start a sin and then think you're going to fast and the Most High shall deliver you from the sin that you caused. You first must clean the sin up yourself and then bring your sacrifice to the Most High with fasting and prayer. Now when they say sometimes you have to fast and pray to cast out demons, now these are the elders that must be clean to cast out demons. Because if you go trying to cast out a demon and you're not right, if that demon leaves that person, where's it going next? It's going to the weakness, right? And if you have a weakness in your life, that's why the Most High is explaining this, because at first he was giving us a hedge or grace because we were dealing with spirits and not always right ourselves. And that's anybody. If we're praying for somebody and there's a spirit in that particular person, and say the Most High delivers that person, and there's somebody in the congregation that's dealing with sin, where that spirit gonna go? It's going to find the weakest link in the chain. That's why when we're dealing with things like that, when we're casting out spirits, you notice how the elders took the person away from a congregation, wasn't in a crowd or something like that, unless it was a healing being done and everybody was coming to see Christ. That's why Elder Ricard gave us that story, the man that brought his child that had a dumb spirit that sometimes would make him cast himself into the fire, try to drown the boy. And the Most High was like, well, first of all, do you believe? He asked the father, do you believe that we can cast out this demon? And the father said, yes. Not only do I believe, if there's some weak areas, strengthen those so we can cast the spirit out of his son. And as soon as that, he said that Christ cast out the demon on the Sabbath. And then because he did on the Sabbath, the Pharisees and Sadducees tried to use that against Christ, saying he was doing a work on the Sabbath. And Christ knew their thoughts, and Christ would be like, well, isn't it proper to do good on the Sabbath? Isn't that's the purpose of the Sabbath, to come to the synagogue, to get understanding and to receive healing. He also did that with the woman that was having an issue with blood. And the same thing, the Pharisees would see a healing being done and then try to say, is he casting out demons in the name of Beelzebub? And Christ is saying, well, how can a house divided stand? So we have to be aware when we're operating with the body, that when we're praying over people and that we're trying to deal with people with sickness and different things, we have to be solid as a body. We had to come together. It's power in prayer in numbers. When 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, so am I also. So we have to understand that the more people we have living right and walking accordingly to the Most High, when we pray and you guys are praying in the background, the spirit has no power over that. It must flee. He said, resist Satan and call on the Most High, and Satan will have to flee. He has to. There's no way he can stand when proper spirits are in place, when the elders are in place praying over you. And Elder Ricard goes into the understanding, letting you know that these spirits bring in sickness. So when you're dealing with demon possession and people with cancer and sickness, we must go back to the initiation of where this started from the beginning. How are you living to determine if you're going to get sick or not? Because the Bible says Christ will deliver us from poison and different things they put in our food unknowingly. It's the things we do knowingly that brings in the sickness and the sin, which causes cancer and disease and all these diabetes and all these different diseases they put on us, and then give you a box full of medication and say, take these things. And then we take them. You feel good for 2 or 3 days, and then a week later, you have something even worse. You have side effects from the medicine you're giving. And just like Cinderella, when she went to the witch to get the potion, there was a good part of the potion that gave her what she wanted, but then there was a negative part that she had to pay to the spirit that gave her that positive part. And that's what the doctors do. They give you a medicine that helps this issue, but then causes issues on this side. You have to pay the piper. You got to pay the toll for these magical quick fix pills. There's no such thing as something you just pop in your mouth and it fix something quick. We have to work through diligence. The same way you picked up that habit or that sin, the same way you had to work it through and work it out. And you have to first start with coming away from the sin itself. Saying, I'm going to come away from this Most High, and give it a time to where you come away from it. And then you bring a sacrifice or a fasting day. And then you present that fast as a sacrifice, as a vessel. Right? But if you're an unclean vessel, you can't use the sacrifice. And that's what Christ is saying, that you first must be clean, sin-free, then bring me a sacrifice. And then now we can make you strong and strengthen you and come together as a unit. All right. So our first scriptures we're going to go into is Matthew 12 and 25.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yeshua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
Right. See, this story is where a man was brought to Christ, and Christ healed the man in the temple. And when the Pharisees seen it, they were making an issue with Christ. So Christ is saying every house divided against itself cannot stand. Because what they're saying was, you cast out the spirit in Satan's name, or in the name of Beelzebub. And Christ is saying, no, a house divided can't stand. If I'm working for Satan, I'm casting out his demons, how can Satan now build a kingdom? So I can't be doing this in the will of Satan. This has to be of the Father. Go ahead.
Verse 26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand?
Right. How can Satan's kingdom stand if he's using me to cast out his own demons? Go ahead.
Verse 27. And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges.
Right. So what Christ is saying, if I cast out spirits in the name of Beelzebub and your children do the same thing, then if you believe they're working for the devil, they're going to judge you. But because they're working in the name of Christ through the Spirit of the Most High, your children are going to be your judge because you didn't believe. You had a chance to believe that Christ was casting out spirits in the name of the Most High, and yet you believe I'm doing it in the name of Satan. So when your children do the same thing, when they receive salvation, they're going to be your judge while you're being judged to condemnation. See, the Most High setting you up the same way he did it before in the wilderness, where the children of Israel did not believe they can take down the Canaanites. So the Most High said, okay, I'm gonna walk y'all around 40 years and let your children go into the promised land. Go ahead.
Verse 28.
Yes, sir.
But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of the Most High, then the kingdom of the Most High is come unto you.
Right. If you understand that I'm casting out these demons in the name of the Father, you're going to receive salvation through faith. See, without faith, it's impossible to please the Most High. So if you don't believe that Christ came in the name of the Father to cast out the demons, to feed the children. So he said in Matthew 25 and 15, the bread is for the children. But because you believe, I'm going to give you some too, the crumbs. Go ahead.
Verse 29, or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house?
Right, and I love the way Elder Ricard put this into understanding, into perspective. To bind the strong man is to get you not to believe in Christ anymore. To get you don't believe that Christ came into the Father, bound the idea that Christ didn't come for you, and then now he can come into your temple and destroy. Because you always know you have Christ, regardless of what Satan do, you can go back to Christ. And then Christ can heal and bring in salvation. But if you don't believe in Christ, then Satan has done his job by binding the strong man and able to now go inside your temple or your house and causes confusion. And because we know that sin is like a cancer, it's going to start in one area and then it's going to move its way to every area in your system. Just like a virus in your computer. It'll start real small, make it run slow. You won't grab the internet real quick till one day you working on your computer, it'll shut off and you won't be able to receive the internet or anything. Now you have to go take it to somebody to clean it, because it started off with a small little virus and the virus grew and attacked one system after the next to where your computer was useless. Same thing with sin, same thing with Satan. He starts here, and then he moves over here, and then you start being mean to your family, then you start cursing, then you go back to drinking and smoking, all the things that made you feel better when you acted that way, instead of going back to Christ and resisting. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 30.
Yes, sir.
He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad.
Right, so if you ain't with the Most High, he gonna scatter you abroad. And there's more than enough examples, especially with Babylon. When they built the tower to the heaven, they said, let us make a name, lest we be scattered. See, they knew the prophecy already ahead of time. When you go against the Most High, you're going to get scattered. He's going to break up your organization. And the same thing with churches. If you're not following the tenets and the commandments of the Most High according to the law and according to the Bible, he's going to destroy you and scatter it. There was a parable where the apostles came to Christ and said, there's a man out there doing what we're doing, baptizing in the name of the Most High and this and that. And they said, what shall we do about it? And Christ said, let them alone. Because if they're doing righteously, it'll grow and they're doing work for the Most High. But if it's unrighteous, the Most High will break it and depart it. Because there were many messiahs in the day of Christ, before and afterwards, people that came that had supposed to deliver Israel. But the only Messiah for Israel was the Son. And see, but a lot of people came in different messiahs. That's why when you go into history, they always try to give you this list of how many people came to deliver and all these different messiahs that would try to fit the criteria of Christ, but none of them never filled it in totality. They was always missing in 3-4 areas where when Christ came, he fulfilled the totality of the law. He came in the spirit of Melchizedek to unite the priesthood. Yes, to unite the priesthood and the royalty. So they came back together, back under one roof under the spirit of Melchizedek. He also came in the bloodline of King David, right? He also came as a young maiden. So all the criteria that Christ needed to fulfill, he fulfilled. But all the other messiahs were short in one area or another. All right, our next scripture is going to be Luke 13:10.
Luke chapter 13, verse 10. And he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath.
Right, so that proves that the Most High, our Christ, was teaching on the Sabbath. Right? Oh, thank you, sister. And there's no reason to come away from that. There's no law, there's no other scripture. So Christ was teaching in the synagogue on a Sabbath. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bowed together, and could in no wise lift up herself.
Right, so she was dealing with infirmity for 18 years to where she couldn't even move her body, but she was at least making it to the synagogue on the Sabbath to worship with the Most High, to worship with Christ. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And when Yeshua saw her, he called her to him and said unto her, Woman, thou art loose from thy infirmity.
Right, see, Christ saw her, and her faith and love, she showed up every Sabbath to where she couldn't barely move, but she was at the church on the Sabbath. And Christ seen her and says, woman, you're healed. Just that simple. He knew she believed because she was there. She wouldn't be at the synagogue on a Saturday if she didn't believe. So her faith was already established, and the Most High healed her from her 18-year infirmity. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And he laid his hand on her, and immediately she was made straight and glorified the Most High.
Right, so her healing was to show the power of the Father. Christ is just a vessel, like he said, given the power from his Father. So she glorified the Most High when she was healed. Go ahead.
Verse 14. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation,
right,
because that Yeshua had healed on the Sabbath day.
Right, so that's all he's seen. All he's seen was Christ doing a work on the Sabbath. He could care less about the healing or the relief that this sister received. All he cared about is that the Most High did something on the Sabbath, which in his eyes was against the law. Go ahead.
And said unto the people, there are 6 days in which men ought to work. In them, therefore, come and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day.
So you're allowed to heal every day, but on the day of the Most High, you're not allowed to heal. Now, this sister been suffering for 18 years, and the Most High healed her on the Sabbath, and he trying to quote the law to Christ, who gave them the law. See, that's why Christ came to show. At first, his life was to show there's love or grace in the law, even before he even brought it to his death. How can you sit back in the church and watch this sister suffer for 18 years straight? And like, you know what, one more day ain't gonna hurt her. She can wait till Sunday. Don't heal her on the Sabbath. And Christ is like, that's why he said, beware the hypocrisy of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Because if you can tell me what law I'm breaking, then you're doing work too. So then now you become a hypocrite. How can you tell me what law I'm breaking? Meaning you're keeping an account of my sins, which you shouldn't be doing either. So it's okay for you to point out when I'm doing wrong according to the law for your justification. But to heal the sister, to show the sister love and understanding on the Sabbath, that's looked upon as bad? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. The Lord then answered him and said, Thou hypocrite.
You hypocrite. Go ahead.
Doeth not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or his ass from the stall and lead him away to watering?
Right. Don't each one of y'all untie your ass and your donkeys on the Sabbath so they can go drink water? Every Sabbath, you wake up before you come to the synagogue, you go to the barn, you untie your ass, you open up the door, and you lead them to the water, and then you walk away. That's work. I don't care how you try to justify it. That's work. So if it's okay for you to do that for your ass and your oxen, how much more for a sister that's been suffering 18 years? See the hypocrisy? It's okay to do what they feel is okay. But if you do something outside, and what it wasn't so much about the healing, it was so much about the attention. That the attention came from the head. Remember, this is the head of the synagogue. So the attention came from him receiving the praise, and the Most High got the glory. That's the issue here. It's not the issue of the healing. He wanted the attention because he understood there's certain things you did on the Sabbath that wasn't according to the law that you gave your own self grace on. But to heal this sister, there's no grace, there's no love for this sister for 18 years of suffering. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan hath bound, lo, these 18 years be loose from this bound on the Sabbath day?
Right. See, Satan had tied her down with a bond, with a sickness, to a spirit. See, Christ is showing you these sicknesses that you're dealing with aren't coming from viruses or different things that they try to explain to you through the medical system or science. Diseases come from demon infection. They understood that in the past. Matter of fact, that's where bloodletting come from. They knew that the spirit was in the blood. So they would cut you and let the blood come out, thinking that they would release a spirit. And a lot of people died that way, getting flu and getting sick, and then they would cut you and let you bleed, and you would become weaker and you would die. But they had at least an understanding that the spirit was making you sick. It wasn't something of a virus. Those are the scientific terms to get you to understand that there was an area where you was infected, and not with a virus, but a spirit. And healing started first spiritually. Then you can go, once the spirit is cleansed and the mind is cleansed, then you can go to a physician and he can heal the rest or stitch it up or whatever else you need done. But the healing must be done spiritually first. There is no healing without spiritual intervention. Because that's why doctors get, well, maybe we can, maybe we can't. It goes into remission and it comes back. No, when Christ did the healing, they were healed and they were done. They was like, you're healed and here's 2 aspirin, and then a week later call me, make sure it's still gone. No, the demon was cast out and the infirmity went away. The bonds were loosened. She was loosened from the bonds. Go ahead.
Verse 17.
Yes, sir.
And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed.
Right, all his adversaries were ashamed because they thought about it. Wow, he hit me right on the head. Because see, Christ knew their thoughts. So once Christ made it public to everybody, they was ashamed because everybody like, really? You rather take more care for your oxen and ass than a sister that's been with the body, that's here on the Sabbath, been suffering this from 18 years. You done seen her every Sabbath for 18 years straight. You the head of the synagogue, and you did nothing for the sister. And the second Christ came in and healed the sister, now you feel a funny kind of way about it. Well, why didn't you heal the sister? See, beware of the hypocrisy. See, people are phony. They want to tell you what's right and wrong, what to do, and then when you do something according to the will of the Most High that they don't get attention from, then they feel a certain kind of way. Well, brother, you sure you should have did that? Well, brother, why haven't you did it? Why should I have to do it? You should have been done this. This sister shouldn't have to suffer 18 years if you're the head of the synagogue and you know Christ. She should have been healed. What's going on? But because he couldn't receive the attention and the glory went to the Most High, that's what the Pharisees all cared about. That's why they dressed and put themselves in high seats above the congregation, to make it feel like because I look a certain way on the outside that I got to be that way on the inside. And that's never the case. A Hebrew is a Hebrew inwardly, not outwardly. See, it don't matter how you look. John the Baptist was in the wilderness. He wore sheep's fur and girdled himself and ate honey and locusts. He didn't look like a Pharisee sitting on in a high seat, but he was baptizing in the name of the Most High and leading the way for Christ. So it was what his work was doing, not how he looked. You know, it's not about your dress, because we had the fringes. We had all the things to look like a Hebrew, and yet we were still going against the Most High. We was in the synagogue praying to the rising sun, and the sisters was in the church weeping for Tammuz, all dressed up, looking good as possible, yet following Satan. So it's not the outer man that brings you to Christ. It's going to be that inner man that makes you follow. It's going to be the law that's written inside your heart. That's why Christ came and said, no more forcing you to death to follow the Most High laws. If you're not going to follow the laws out of sheer love and dedication to the Most High, then you're not going to make it to heaven.
Mark chapter 16, verse 14. Afterward, he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat, and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen.
So this is after Christ has risen, and the apostles didn't believe that Christ had been risen. That's why he's saying, after he appeared unto the 11, they sat at meat and upbraided them with their unbelief. So Christ came and sat and ate with them to show them that he had came back to be risen, because when Christ returned, he did not look the same as when he left. So he had to come, and that's why they had to put their hands in his holes and in his side where he was pierced, to recognize who Christ was, because he had his heavenly body when he returned after the 3 days of being in the grave. Go ahead.
Verse 15, and he said unto them, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature.
Yes, sir.
Verse 16, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned.
Right, so baptism is one of the key points of following Christ. One of the first things you have to do is be baptized, because baptism is a humbling of a self, humbling of a person to say, I'm wicked, I'm unclean, I need to be washed. See, baptism is not only just the water itself, because it's just water. You've been in the tub many times. It's the commitment of saying, I know I'm dirty. And in front of all of you, I know I'm dirty, and I need to be baptized and washed away from these sins. See, that's the first thing baptism it do. It makes you look at yourself and realize that I'm not correct, that I need to be fixed within inside. And the first step is to get in order with Christ. So now the first thing I have to do is go down in the water that represents the grave, to leave the old man down and to rise up the spiritual new man that's going to follow Christ regardless. If I have to sacrifice my mother, my children, my goods, my home, my job, whatever it takes to follow Christ, that's what we should be doing. Because the full duty of man, once he said, go out and preach the gospel throughout all the world. That's our job. These are hobbies we got that they pay us pennies on the dollar for, that they don't appreciate us for, that they talk to us crazy for, and then tell us that, hey, we should be more dedicated to this than to the Most High who's bringing salvation. That don't make sense. But that's what they did. They bounded the strong man. They took Christ and minimized Christ and then put their job on a pedestal. If you want to be part of this society, you have to work according to this society, even if it means walking on what you believe, walking on Christ. And it should be the opposite. I'm going to follow Christ, and whatever you do that follows around that, we can work out. See, bound the strong man, and then we can go and destroy the house, that the name of Israel be no more in their remembrance, right? So the first thing they had to do was get us to sin and to minimize Christ. And so then now they can come in and destroy your household from the inside out. And when you study, you find out every kingdom basically fell from the inside, not from outside forces. Because if you're a kingdom, you subdued all the outside forces. It was going on in the inside that destroyed every kingdom. From the inside, it shall be destroyed. And that's what the Most High does. He sends prophets to the inside to teach God's people how to follow the truth. And what Elijah said, they killed all your prophets, and even including me. See? And that's what we have to be careful, because 9 times out of 10, your first adversary or your biggest adversary is going to be within, not without. So you're going to protect yourself from with outside. It's the people that you let inside that love you the most, that can cause the most damage, because these are the ones you care about. It's the people you care about that will be the first ones to turn on you. See? Go ahead, brother. What verse we at?
17.
Go ahead, read 17.
Verse 17. And these signs shall follow them that believe in my name. Shall they cast out devils? They shall speak with new tongues. Verse 18. They shall take up serpents. And if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover.
Right. See, these are the signs that we'll be able to do once we get back right with Christ. That's the whole point of the sacrifice. You first must come away from all sin, present a sacrifice, and then now you're able to be used as a vessel of the Most High. So you can't be a vessel of the Most High when you dirty yourself, because there's a weakness, and that demon will jump out of that person and then come into you, and it won't even show itself. It'll sit back and just wait for opportunity. You want me to know it's there. And then as soon as the opportunity arises, that spirit will kick right on in and have you do things you wouldn't normally do, things you know that's against the Most High. So we have to be safe. We have to stay prayed up. Then once we're prayed up and we're able to get sin free, now we're able to what? Heal the sick. Christ said we'll do more miracles. The signs shall follow these believers. In my name they shall cast out demons. They shall speak with new tongues, meaning that if it's necessary and someone speaks Spanish and you want to tell them about the truth of the Most High, believe there will be no easier thing than for you to speak Spanish talking about Christ. That's what speaking in tongues is about. The tongues gave utterance, understanding, different languages that you can converse to a brother and sister about Christ. See, that's why Peter stood up and said, these men aren't drunk, not with wine, but with the Spirit. And that's why they're able to come in Greek and in Roman and in Latin and tell you about Christ, knowing that they didn't speak these languages just yesterday. That was the sign of a miracle, to be able to pick up a tongue and speak about Christ just like that. That's the sign. And said, even if we take up servant and drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. We do that every day. Those miracles are already working. As much as I love Coke, she be hitting me and she be like, look what Coke do to the body. Look what all these sodas and different things do to our bodies. And we drink them every day, 3-4 times a day, and we don't even get sick. That's why the medical system now targets you as a child with these immune inoculation shots to bring down your immunities, so when you get older, continue to drink the poisons and the preservatives and steroids that they put into your food that will eventually cause cancer, diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, all these different diseases that they come up with. It's coming from your food and your area and the spraying of the skies, and also sin. Because sin opens the door for that weakness, and you continue with the poisons and that spirit, now they're able to work in you with diseases. That's why first the casting out of the demon must be done first. Then now the body can recuperate and start to heal itself. These bodies are meant to heal themselves. You're able to live a time in these bodies, because if Methuselah was able to use this body for 960 some odd years, and Adam to use it for another 900, and different people in the Bible living 800 and 700 years old, apparently this body is sturdy. It's meant to be used, and it can go a term. And you don't hear nothing about nobody going senile. You know, vision dimmed, hearing went a little low, but no one was delusional or not knowing who they was at the end of their age. They had full continence of who they were and the knowledge of the Most High before they died. I seen what Alzheimer's does to a person. My grandfather lived to be 96. By the time he left, he had full blown, he remembered nobody. All he remembered was talking about his mule, because he came to Vegas so long ago before cars that they brought a mule. So he used to talk about his mules and stuff. And we like, mules? Because, you know, we grown at this point. This is like 90, 94, 95. So we're grown. My grandfather's talking about mules. He lived to be 96 years old, so he's going all the way back. He didn't remember nobody. And we took care of him and different things like that. But it just goes to show, through the years of living in sin and medicine, you lose who you are. Those medicines come with a price. And because he was in an old folks home, when he was at home with us, he sort of remembered the family, at least the girls. You okay, Mama?
Yeah, she's all right.
So he at least remembered the girls. You know, your father, they always remember the girls. Something about the boys they have an issue with, but he remembered the girls. But as soon as he got into that old folks home and they started to medicate him on a regular basis, he blanked totally out. He didn't remember nobody. And that goes to show you that these medicines aren't based on your recovery. They're not at all. They're potions. You would go to a witch doctor to get a potion to make somebody fall in love with you, or to make you grow taller, or you want a different color hair. These were potions that witch doctors put together, but on the same end, you lost something when you gave up something. So it's understandable. What verse we at?
19.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 19. So then after the Lord had spoken unto them, he was received up into heaven and set on the right hand of the Most High.
Right, so after Christ showed them that he had came back, remember, they let you know Christ walked for 40 days after the resurrection, showing, not millions, showing many people that he was resurrected. Right, go ahead.
Verse 20. And they went forth and preached everywhere the Lord worketh with them, and confirming the word with signs following.
Right, so not only did they go and tell everybody that Christ rose, they showed through power, through the same miracles, healing, casting out demons, Salakia, taking up serpents and doing different things to show that we have the power of the Most High. And we were given this power when he resurrected, to show that we had the authority of the Most High to go out preaching the gospel, that it was a truth to it. That we're not just saying follow Christ and then you just assume that we telling you the truth. They were passed by miracles. Paul did many acts in the eyes of men. All right. So let's go to our next scripture here.
Matthew chapter 18, verse 18. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loose in heaven.
Right. See, the Most High is giving us power to bind spirits, and whatever we bind on earth is going to be binded through heaven, meaning he will give us the power to bind these spirits once we casting them out. He gives us the authority, and the things we said according to the law on earth will also be set in the heavenly tabernacles, because everything we do with the Most High is being written in books in the heavenly tabernacle. Go ahead.
Verse 19. Again, I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven.
So anything you ask and two or three come together, according to the law, according to prophecy, according to the Bible. Not if two or three people come together and pray for a Porsche or a new house. No. According to what the law, according to prophecy, what the Most High has in store for the body, if two or three come together, it will be delivered. If it's to cast out demons, if it's to do anything to build up the church, the body, to follow Christ, it shall be given to you by the Father. And you notice Christ don't take credit for nothing. Y'all notice this. Christ is always contributing or giving everything to the Father, because everything comes from the Father. His power to operate came from the Father. Even when he was risen in 3 days, Christ didn't rise himself. The Father rose him and gave him the authority and the power. And then once Christ subdued everything underneath his feet, all power is going back to the Father once again. See? That's why Christ said, don't pray to me. Pray to my Father who sits upon on high. And that's what we do as Israelites a lot of times. That's why the Most High say, stay meek, stay humble. Never believe that this is of you. Always know that you're a vessel or a conduit to be used by the Most High. It's never your own understanding. Because as soon as you think you know something, the Bible says you know nothing. And because we know a few things, we'll get puffed up and think that we can go around and tell and teach everybody. But sometimes just planting the seed is more than enough to be done. You know, a lot of times just even keep arguments down. I'll be like, well, brother, look into it for yourself. Matter of fact, don't believe me at all. Don't believe nothing I'm saying. Check it out for yourself. And then once you look at that for yourself, and then you can deal with it on your own, to where you don't think that I'm dogmatic. I'm telling you, you don't know nothing, I know it all. Sometimes just pull back. Brother, check this out. Just read it, and you come back and tell me what you get out of it. I do that a lot of times. Me and Clarence was talking about it today. Writing some scriptures down and giving it to a person so they can go through the scriptures themselves and like, well, how do you deal with this scripture according to what you believe? See, it's simpler just to let the Bible speak outside of quoting certain things. Sometimes it's best just to, hey, brother, look at this and see what you come up with. You know, so it's a lot of times, move yourself out the way, plant the seed and move, let the Most High water it. Sometimes you'll tell somebody something, they don't believe it, and then go in life or turn them into, you know what, that brother might be on to something, and then they might do their own research and come up with some truth. All right, what verse we at?
20.
Go ahead.
Verse 20. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them.
All right, that's why you don't never forsake the assembly. When we come together as a unit, as a group, that's when we're at our most powerful. So when we come together and pray for each other, when we come together and love each other and unite, that's how we get to know each other and love each other. What greater gift can a man do but give his life for his brother? See, Christ wants to see, yes, a father wants to see us getting along as a group. And every time we splintered and broke off from each other, it was never right. The Most High was always trying to show us, listen, y'all got to come back and love each other. You can't love me who you don't know and you hate your brother who you see every day. You can't do it. And I hear that all the time. I love God with all my heart, all my soul, but this person is that and that person is this. Well, brother, you can't, because how do you know that Christ ain't like the person you mad at? How do you know the Father ain't like the person you condemning? You don't know him. So it's best to love your brothers and sisters for their good and their bad, because no one is walking this race perfect. If your love was dished out by how you live righteously or unrighteously, who would in here be loved? Really, think about it. If your parents or whoever you care about loved you on how righteous you walked according to the Most High, where would you be? Where would we stand? There's a love, a love that's given to us above that we can even imagine. Before you loved yourself, the Most High loved you. Because he prepared a way so you can find. Remember, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. He knew Israel was going to do everything they did ahead of time. And even from the beginning of the foundation, Christ knew that he was going to come one day and be a sacrifice for Israel. From the beginning, before the foundations were even drawn up. That's love. You're not here to even have consciousness to love yourself and to love the Most High. And the love was already laid out for you, for the future, in totality for you. Even when I know I'm going to give you all the blessings of the earth, and you're going to turn on me and worship Satan and give him credit for everything I give you. And then yet, I'm going to send my only begotten son to die for you so you can receive a way back to me because I love you that much. That was the plan before you was even created. Now, me, myself, that's why it's great that man ain't God. I would have tweaked y'all. Like, yeah, no, this not going to happen. This ain't going to happen. You know, if you know the whole story, you're going to fix what you want. The Most High is like, nah, I'm letting it all run out. Because the ones I bring is going to be the real ones. Now, like, I love this, Elder Ricard broke this down. He said, at first, the Most High saved all of Israel. He brought us all out of Egypt. This time, you're not doing it that way no more. I'm only bringing the ones that's following my son accordingly to how he walked. And if you splinter a little bit here to the left or to the right, you ain't going to make it. That's the beauty of it. See, people don't understand that. All of Israel gonna be saved. They love that scripture, but if Israel ain't walking with Christ, no, they're not. The Most High has no respect of a person when it comes to sin. There's a pecking order in the military ranking in the kingdom. That goes without saying. But when it comes to sin, you will be judged like Jew to Gentile to Greek. There will be he's the seed of Abraham, so I'm gonna give him a little leeway. No. Matter of fact, the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected. So Israel, outside of just being whatever tribe you're from, is held to a higher standard than the Gentiles. Why? Because we was given the statutes, laws, and commandments. We saw the working of the Most High in the cloud in the daytime and ball of fire at night. We was given his son to be redeemed. So if much was given to us, much is going to be expected from us. That's why the Most High said, you guys have to be the light unto the Gentiles to show them back to me. That's a responsibility. So being baptized, following Christ, keeping the commandments, now go out and preach the gospel and be a light unto the Gentiles. It's more than just saving yourself. It's to be an example. Because through your salvation and walking according to the Most High, you will be a light unto the Gentiles. See, we were supposed to walk a certain way and receive the blessings of the earth. And once we receive the blessings and rulership of the earth, the other nations would try to be like us accordingly. That was what was the original plan of how we were supposed to be a light unto the Gentiles, walking righteously in the ways of the Most High, so they would want to walk righteously in the eyes of the Most High. That's what Paul is teaching the churches, that if you walk Israel righteously according to the Most High, when the Gentiles come in, they'll follow suit. And that's why Paul was like, we're not going to start a church based on death and circumcision. That's just like if somebody walked through the door right now, like, brother, before you can be part of this church, we're going to need for you to cut yourself. You know what I'm saying? And if you break any of these laws that I'm teaching you right now, we're killing you. He was like, he's going to take off his hat and he's going to be like, hey, y'all have a good service. Because that's what I would do. I'm just walking into a religion that's telling me I got to cut myself and I got to learn these laws overnight or to death. Nah, I'll be something else. See, so Paul was like, no, move all that out the way. Come in with an open heart because you're a Jew inwardly. So if you're keeping the statutes, laws, and commandments, and they inside your heart, that's the circumcision. You circumcise your heart now. It don't have to be flesh anymore. Because when we were circumcised in the flesh, you still broke all the laws. You still was worshiping Tammuz. See, so it didn't change who you was. So Christ is saying, no, now I'm only taking those that love me. And the only way you can love the Most High, love me, is to do what? Keep my commandments. And the only way you keep the commandments unless they're written inside your heart. Because now we don't have death hanging over us like they did in the past. So now we have to do it out of sheer love of the Most High. Keep these laws because I love the Most High. It's not even about making it to heaven. It's about giving honor to the man that created you and gave you everything you have in your life, from your children to your house to your car. All that comes through the Most High. Why would you not want to do his will? Why would you not want to keep his laws? You keep the laws of these people here. I don't see nobody on probation or in jail in here. I saw everybody driving the speed limit and everything else to be here. So if you're going to follow the laws of the land of captivity, how much more so should you follow the laws of the Most High, especially when the laws of the Most High keep you from breaking the laws of man? How much more so? Why not? The laws are not grievous. These laws are, you should not want to deal with your brother's wife. You shouldn't want to kill your brother. You shouldn't want to lie and steal. You shouldn't want to worship Tammuz, Osiris, and all these different gods. There's nothing in the commandments that's grievous that you shouldn't want to do. The commandments are in place to get you to get along with your brother forever. If you keep those 10 and hang everything on those 10, how can you offend? How can you hurt? You won't, because the laws keep you at peace with your brother at all times. That's what it's about. The law ain't about worshiping the Most High. We know that the law's put in place so you would get along, because if you'd have kept the law, Cain wouldn't have killed Abel. So forth and so. The angels would have failed, and Adam never would have sinned if he'd have just kept what he was told to do. Don't eat of the fruit. He had the simplest laws. He didn't have to worry about the other law because it was only 2 people. See? Just one not doing what the Most High, just a little bit, leads to a long life of destruction. That's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with now. Me and Sister Tanya, that's one thing I love about this woman. She's always watching lessons, constantly, 24 hours a day. And Elder Ricard was she was watching the lesson on witches. And Elder Ricard said, if we would have did our job, America would not look the way it does now. America's full of witches and warlocks and witchcrafts. Right down the street is a palm reading house that's been there for forever. They just closed, a couple of weeks ago we drove past. But palm readers and soothsayers and Miss Cleo. All of these are witches. And a lot of these doctors that's giving out potions are warlocks. And another thing, dope dealers, drug sellers, these are wizards and warlocks. They're selling poisons or potions. It's the same spirit. It's no difference. So if we done kept the commandments, you shouldn't suffer a witch to live or warlocks to live. A lot of this stuff that we dealing with is because we didn't listen to the Most High. That's what got Saul in trouble. Not Saul, excuse me. Saul also, but that's what got, who was that? Solomon. Listening to these, in his elder age, other women and start to sacrifice to the other gods, which got the kingdom split. So we have to be careful of knowing that when the Most High give us a plan, follow it. And it's not because he wanted in detail just to do everything I say. It's because he's the Alpha and the Omega. He knows that if you lack in any part of this, there's an end result that's going to be against Israel. All right, what verse we at?
21.
Okay, no, that's fine. That was Matthew. All right, let's go. We're going to go into Jubilees real quick. I want to grab something out of Jubilees real fast.
Jubilees chapter 10, verse 1. And in the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make to error and destroy them.
All right.
Verse 2. And the sons of Noah came to Noah, their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons.
Right, so these demons that came from the giants after the flood was working in the spirits of men, that was blinding them and making them sick and causing them to sin. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And he prayed before the Most High his power, and said, the Most High of spirits of all flesh, who have shown mercy unto me, and have saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and hast not caused me to perish as thou didst the sons of perdition. For thy grace hath been great towards me, and great have been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lift up upon my sons, and let not the wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth.
Right, so at this particular time, all the giants that had died during the flood, spirits was roaming around. So there were millions of spirits infecting the sons of Noah once they got off the ship. And Noah's now going to the Most High. Can we do something about these malignant spirits? Because some of these spirits are just totally gone. They're lunatics, they're dangerous on a high level. They were just like some of the worst spirits you're dealing with. Go ahead.
Verse 4, but do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth.
Right.
Verse 5, and thou knowest how thy watchers, the father of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation.
Yeah.
And let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant, my power, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy.
Right, and in my book it says, for these are like cancer and are created in order to destroy. So these spirits are like cancer and diseases. So when you get infected with a demon or a spirit and you suffering from a disease, this is why. So, and Noah is praying, Most High, put them in a place somewhere, because if you don't, they're going to destroy men again off the face of the earth. So what was the point of the flood if now they released from their fleshly bodies and now they have spiritual bodies as demons to go around to infect mankind, to get us to sin, to break the laws of the Most High and cause disease and blindness? Go ahead.
Verse 6.
Yes, sir.
And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore. Verse 7, and the Lord our power bade us to bind all.
Right. Hold on, it says here, and the Lord our God commanded us, angels, to bind all of them. So the Most High sent a group of angels down to bind those, the demons or the spirit of the angels. 90% of them, he left a tenth. So 90% of the angels, the spirits that were left over, the Most High had the angels come and bind them and put them in a place of condemnation. Go ahead.
Verse 8, and the chief of the spirits, Mestema,
Satan, go ahead,
came and said, Lord, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men.
Right, so Satan is coming to the Most High. Okay, I see you binding up all these spirits. Leave me some, because I need help if I'm going to control the earth. So he left the tenth on the earth. And the tenth, what they do is now they go and they infect your governments. Your kings and queens are dealing with these spirits. Like when Christ was explaining about the Prince of Tyre, letting you know there was a demon working inside this body. And that's what's going on today. Inside your military, inside your government, the high ranking, they are dealing with spirits. That's why their plans is always destruction. It's always war. Your government will spend, billions of dollars on destruction. It won't spend a tenth on it on education, or housing, or food. See, that's the whole thing. That's why the Bible says Esau shall live by the tip of the sword. His spirit, his nature is war. He will spend 90% of his budget on war and spend 5% on, if that, on feeding the people. And when they do that, you know how they do. They're going to give it to other rich people to distribute to the poor. You know, that Reaganomics, that trickle down theory. You know, you'll get wet if I just spray it on everybody. You'll get a little something. You may not get, enough, but you're going to at least get enough to survive, to be a slave. Just enough. Because all their plans is what? War. So when they telling you about NASA and $1 billion budget, they're only doing that to put weapons in space to fight against the return of Christ. They spending weapons on a black budget to make machines to emulate the power of Christ to fight a war that they're preparing for. Satan has got all the governments going in the same direction. And what he does is he uses misdirection. Make them fight each other to build up their military technology. So when Christ comes, they'll stop fighting each other, point their weapons to the sky. As while Edom is underground in the cliffs of the rocks hiding, thinking that they're going to survive this while all the nations above kill each other. Whereas the Most High is going to be, that's fine, but I'm going to walk through Edom and see who is with me and who's not with me. See, that's the whole point of this. That's why Christ had to come in the book lets us know that they locked up the most sick and disturbed spirits. The ones you're dealing with now were the more calm spirits that you're dealing with. You understand? And if this is the result of the calm, then what happens when they open up that portal and then the demented ones get let free? See, Christ said there's going to come a time where there's going to be a pit from hell and locusts is going to come out. The faces of men with breastplates and tail like a scorpion, because they're going to come out and infect men and sting them and jump into them. And your government is prepared and has been building what you call android bodies. They're shells that they're going to let these spirits be released and come and infect and go into these bodies and be part of the army. Because remember, Satan has to have a great and powerful army to fight the army that's coming with Christ. To fight the army that we're going to be turned into. So everything they show you in different movies. They show you in Terminator, how the weapons become infected and they start to fight men. They show you in The Matrix. They show, what's the other movie I like that's one of my favorite they show you in? I, Frankenstein, they show you that. Where they're showing you Dracula is making babies, but they don't live until there's a way that he can put spirits into them and then they'll operate. See, the government's letting you know they're building machines, bodies, robots, whatever they can come up with. And then once once CERN open up that portal from hell, those demons gonna shoot up, infiltrate those bodies, and then come out. And then everybody that took the mark of the beast, because it's just like a radio signal that's gonna be in your hand or your forehead. And as soon as these spirits link in, come out, they're gonna link right into you, because you're gonna be a beacon of light with that chip. That's why they're gonna chip every man, rich or poor, great or small. Every man shall receive a mark. That's purpose. That's not just to tag you. This chip is going to have many, many different operations up in it. They're going to be able to turn it off. They're going to cause heart attacks, tumors. It's going to change your personality. They showed you that in Kingsman, where when Samuel Jackson turned on the chip and everybody went crazy, started fighting each other. The woman was trying to kill her own baby. See? These are the things that they're going to put in place through technology. Go ahead, brother.
For these are for corruption.
These are for corruption. Go ahead.
And leading astray before my judgment. Mm-hmm. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. Verse 9. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before me.
A tenth. So 10% was left. Go ahead.
And let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. Verse 10. And one of us he commanded that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness to strive, nor strive in righteousness.
Right, so the Most High knew man was going to continue to sin. That's why he said man loved darkness. They love sin. So teach Noah the medicines, the herbs that he can use to cast out these demons. So there is a level of medicine that you can take, but they're natural herbs from the earth. And it's herb at a time. You don't mix these herbs. You're not to mix the herbs to make different things, because that's what they did. The tree of good and evil had good and a little evil in it mixed together. So yeah, you got a benefit of knowing good and evil, but then you knew evil and you were able to operate with evil and unrighteousness and make decisions because you had free will. See? So every potion they give you is a mixture of something where you're supposed to take the herbs. And Brother Ricard, I don't know how true this is. I'm not saying I doubt him, but he said they have that book. How to work the herbs, are the herbs that would cast out demons, and also how to mix the herbs to make potions. See, that was the trick. When they came and they started to mix the herbs of the earth with each other and the animals to come up with potions and different ideas. That's why it's a witch's brew. Get a big pot, this herb, this potion, that. Mix it together and pour it in the little bottles and hand it to you. And it'll answer whatever you want from it, but it came with a spirit in it, a demon. That's how they operate through their medicines. And the Most High teach Noah the medicines, these herbs, so he can free his children, because his children are going to continue to sin and walk unrighteously. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And we did according to all his words. All the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation.
See, all the malignant, sick, and evil ones, they bound. So that's why in the last days it's going to be like no man, because you're going to get all these spirits, the real bad ones, the real ones that were just psychotic. They're going to be released. See, that's the whole point. That's why they do it. That's why they go into the bottom of the pyramids. That's why they go to these different spots and pray, to try to raise these gods up. Because they want these gods back on earth to help fight for the oncoming battle. There's a war coming. That's what the whole point of this. Satan is preparing for a war that he knows he loses. And because of this, in between time, he's trying to destroy all the children of Israel so they won't be used as a weapon of the Most High. The Most High said, I'm going to bring back an army with me, but the weapon I'm actually going to use is going to be the 144,000 that's going to go throughout the earth and judge the nations. All right, go ahead.
And a 10th part of them we left that they might be subject before Satan on the earth.
Right.
Verse 12. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases.
All the medicine of their diseases. Spirits, diseases. Spirits, diseases. See? They're not separate. They're the same. Go ahead.
Together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs on the earth.
How he might heal them with the herbs of the earth. So healing can come through the herbs of the earth with a physician that's dealing righteously with the Most High. But the physicians we have today, they're witch doctors, scientists that's mixing herbs together with spirits. And they know this. Really what doctors do is all they do is sustain the body to get the body regular. And then they say, all we can do now is wait, let them rest. There's a spiritual side too, but they'll never say let the Most High operate. They'll just say, well, now he needs time to recuperate, to rest, to get time to get strength back of the Most High to push these spirits out. See? And then now, because they heal you with one little thing, you'll believe and give all honor to these doctors where it should be going to the Most High. I hear this all the time. Going to the doctor, pray for me. See, I'm going to the doctor, but y'all make sure y'all pray. And we are. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Get the examination. But when it comes to the understanding, you first must understand there is no healing coming the way of doctors unless you first go to the Most High and come away from sin. Period. Even if they slow it down, even if they move it out the way and say you cure for a time. If you don't come away from sin, the Most High is not going to heal your members to go commit sin. If you suffering from cancer and you ain't redeemed yourself and repented and came away from the sin, why heal you so you can go out and sin more? What's the point of that? You know what I'm saying? It's just like a criminal. You catch them the first time, it wasn't that bad. Here's another gun going out there. No one's going to do that. It's like, no, there's a price to pay. And if you surrender yourself to the Most High and you tell them, listen, you heal me, I'm going to go out and do the will of the Most High. I'm going to do the work. The Most High is going to heal you. You didn't humble yourself. You didn't repent. And now the Most High can be like, now I can use this member, this body, this vessel to bring the truth across. That somebody else may be saved because you were saved. How can you talk about being healed if you ain't never been healed? How can you talk about going through something unless you go through something? That's why there's elders and deacon classes we have now to teach us that there's a good thing that comes with age and wisdom, that you're able to talk with people through experience. Not saying that the youth can't lead to a certain extent, but it's good to have an aged man in place that's following the Most High to be able to talk life with you. To be like, I understand, sister, brother, I walked that before, and this is what the Most High did for me. And if you continue in the faith and follow these statutes, laws, and commandments, no doubt he shall do it for you. I done been through some things, so I can talk about some things. I done lived in a house with no power with my kids. I done been through that, so when you going through it, I can tell you about it. I done been 1 week away from being outside if it wasn't for the blessing of my mother and father that were righteously following the Most High, according to Christianity. That showed me love and gave me that boost when I needed it so I can be a stronger man. But everybody don't have that boost. So when they do go through that, you can explain, sister, I know, I've been there. I've been right there with you with 3 kids, all new babies that I had to make for myself. Nobody in my house working. And if it wasn't for prayer and understanding the foundation that my father had gave me as a child growing up in church. That's why I love that scripture, raise a child as he should go. So no matter how bad my situation got, I never thought like, you know what, now I'm just going to smoke myself out or drink myself to death. It never went to that area because I knew my safety, my strength came from the Father, even in my sin. Even when I wasn't living right with the Most High, no matter what. When I went to jail, I'm in there like this. When you get ready to go to court, you praying for the judge. Hey, let the judge have a good day. The Most High, you know, I'm not praying for me no more. I'm praying for the judge to have some understanding, because I did wrong. So I'm hoping that the judge has some compassion on me. And don't try that route, but it worked. I don't want you to go put yourself in a situation just to prove that issue. But believe me, brothers and sisters, it's rare that you find a young black man with no felony in this day and age. You know, because jail is modern day slavery. So they try to put that felony on every brother they can, because they can mitigate you to a certain level of life. Once you have that felony, they know there's a plateau you'll never pass. Yeah, they understand that, yeah. Every brother, first of all, the first thing they want is your DNA. Now it's the new thing. You know, I'm an older guy. I went to jail a few times before. I done broke a law. They weren't taking my DNA back then. Now everybody go to jail. There's an excuse one way or another. They're going to try to get your DNA out of you. If they got to swab you, or if it's a DUI by taking your blood. Ask these young men up in there. Every time you go to jail now, there's a concerted effort to try to get some DNA out of you. Yeah. Why? That's what I'm saying. And I feel the same way with blood banks. I don't think Israelites should be giving their blood to the other nations. I just don't feel that way. Now, can I go into the Bible and say, yay this or no that? But I can tell you this, the Bible says don't operate with blood. And as an Israelite, I'm definitely not going to give a Gentile my blood. It's almost common sense to me. Now, if y'all got something different, bring it to me, we can talk about it. Personally, I'm not giving other nations my blood. Just not doing it, especially when I know they're vampires. Especially when I know John Kerry got caught at the airport with bags of blood. Wow. Not doing it. Look it up. John Kerry got caught at the airport with blood. Right. For what? They're drinking it. They've always dealt with blood. They always mix blood with wine. Go look at those old Greek and Roman movies. They'd take some blood, get a little wine, a little honey, pour it up in there and drink it. And before they go to war, they would host up a bull, cut the bull open, let the blood fall over there with their mouth open, swallow it, and then they would have the spirit of the bull to go into war with no fear. Remember, because they're always looking a way to emulate the Most High. Israel went to war with no fear because we had the power and the Ark of the Covenant behind us. So there was no need for fear. That's why the Bible said, I gave you not the spirit of fear. That didn't come with y'all. That came because Satan was able to what? Bound the strong man. Minimize Christ in your life. So where now you fear that the man that can destroy the flesh over the power that can destroy the soul. See, the flesh is going to be destroyed regardless, no matter what. If you understand that you're going to live again regardless, what is there to fear? Do the work even unto death. How much more confidence can you have if you out doing the righteousness of the Most High and something happened to you? You should wake up ready to go ahead knowing that I was doing the will of the Most High when they took me out. Why should I fear? Who shall I fear if I'm doing the will of the Most High and I'm keeping these commandments? It's better to die that way than any other way I can think of. Right? What verse we at, brother?
13.
Go ahead.
Verse 13.
Yes, sir.
And Noah wrote down all things in a book as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah. Mm-hmm. Verse 14. And he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons.
Right, and then Shem gave it to Abraham. Abraham gave it to Isaac and Noah. And that's how Abraham was able to go and be a great teacher to the other nations. Because Abraham had that book, he had the book of Enoch, he had all the knowledge, the book of Adam and Eve when he was walking around that he got from the flood from Noah. So he taught Shem. Shem was Melchizedek. Shem taught Abraham. That's how Abraham was able to go out into Egypt and different areas and be one of the wisest men. So on down to Solomon. See, these scrolls were held and kept together to where we built the temple. And once we built the temple, they were there, and you had access to them. So that's how we was able to take the knowledge and hand it down from generation to generation till the temple was destroyed. And then once the temple was destroyed, then now we had to wait for Ezra to come and then give us all the information again. The books you're dealing with now came from Ezra. The original copies that Noah had Moses had that came from Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, and the patriarchs was destroyed in the first temple. They burnt it down. They stripped all the gold up. So the majority of your stuff, your scrolls, was destroyed. because they didn't want the information out. It was just through the blessings of Ezra that he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, and he was given back a spirit, and he got 25 young men that can write, and for day and night he scrolled, they re-gave you the Bible and the book of Jasher and all the information you're dealing with. All right? That was what, 17?
I'm on 15.
No, okay, that's it. Yeah, that's all I wanted there, 15. All right, let's jump to, we're gonna go a couple more scriptures here. Matthew 15 and 22.
Verse 22. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil.
Right. See, the first thing we need to realize, this woman was a Canaanite. She was not an Israelite. Right? And she humbled herself and came to the Son of David, Christ, and said, My daughter is vexed with the devil. She's sick. Then so the sister already understood that my daughter's sickness came from a spirit or a demon. See, they understood that. It's now that we don't understand it because we let science and medicine rule the day. Back then, they understood that this was a demon infection that had her daughter sick. And she came from the land of Canaan. So she understood all the Canaanite gods, all the 365 different gods that came through the Egyptians or Persian mythology. She understood. She was a Canaanite woman. But she put all of that to the side and came to Israel, came to Christ. Go ahead.
Verse 23. But he answered her not a word. And the disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us.
Right. The apostles didn't we don't deal with them because at this point we didn't deal with the other nations. We didn't operate with them. And they also understood that the healing was for the children of Israel. It wasn't for the Canaanites or the different nations. It's not for them. Israel needed the healing at this particular time. The other nations were all right, because they were part of the government, or they were part of Rome at this particular time. Israel needed the healing. That's why it's send her away. We don't deal with it. That's why Christ didn't answer her. And plus, it was inappropriate at this particular time for a man to operate with a woman outside of being either with her brother or her husband. It wasn't an occasion for men to be alone with women. It made it easier. It kept a lot of adultery and fornication out the way. You didn't operate with another man's wife or a single woman by you being a married man. It kept temptation down. It was just common sense. All right, go ahead.
Verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So what Christ is not saying, he's not dealing with the other nations. What he's saying is what I'm bringing to the earth, the salvation and the sacrifice, is only for the people that need salvation and the sacrifice. Only for the people that practice sacrifice for redemption. The other nations did not do this. So when he's saying I'm only sent to the lost sheep, the lost house of Israel, it was because there was a prophecy that needed to be fulfilled, that Christ needed to come and give his life for these people. But at the same time, he brought healing for the nations before. So what I'm bringing is really only for Israel. I'm only sent to the lost sheep, the lost house of Israel. Not saying that Christ was racist, but there was something that was needed particularly for the house of Israel that the other nations didn't need at this particular time. And that was healing through the strength of the Father and grace through Christ that he was bringing to fulfill the rest of the law. Go ahead.
Verse 25. Then came she and worshiped him, saying, Lord, help me.
Right, so first she came and humbled herself and fell at his feet and worshiped him, giving honor to him, letting him know that there's no other power outside of you. I know that these other gods, these other doctors can't do anything for my daughter. I'm putting that all aside. I know it's nonsense. I know you the true healer. I know you come from the Father. See, so she humbled herself and put herself in a position to understand that if I need healing, I know to come to the true power. These other gods or deities are idols. She understood that. That's why Christ is going to deal with her, because she believed outside of her own nation in gods and came to the God of Israel and humbled herself before him. Go ahead.
Verse 26. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take children's bread and cast it to dogs.
Right, and he's not calling her a dog to disrespect her. What he's saying is he's giving her a parable. It's not good if I got starving children, I take the meat off the table that should feed the children and give it to the dogs. You guys made your way. You had the direction that you was going with Satan. So why am I going to take the blessings that the Father sent me to heal my people and give it to you? Not that you're a dog, but he's just giving that parable. Letting her understand that the children of Israel need the healing over all these other nations. Y'all dealing in y'all kingdom. Y'all getting the fullness of the Gentiles. So why you over here trying to take from the children of Israel that has nothing at this particular time? All right, go ahead.
Verse 27. And she said, Truth, Lord.
True, Lord. I understand that. Go ahead.
Yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table.
Right. Now, she didn't get arrogant and cuss him out like, you know, who you calling a dog? Listen, your mama. She didn't do all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because she understood what Christ was saying. She said, true, Lord, I get what you're saying. Because she had an understanding of Christ came to fulfill something for this group of people. But don't the dogs eat the scraps that fall off the table sometimes? Don't some of the dogs receive a blessing? Don't you bite a piece of meat and see your dog there and just throw it to him so he can taste what you take? I do it all the time with my dog. I eat a little something and give him a little piece, you know, because we love him. So Christ was showing a level of love also. Even though I'm coming to bring healing for this group of people, I still love all my creation. And if you humble yourself and come before me, I got healing for you too. See, that's the part of that we need to teach the Gentiles. That's why we're the light now. Hey, it really ain't for you, but you've been grafted in the wild olive tree. And if you follow these commandments and follow Christ, we can heal you just as well. But you have to put aside all the other religions. You got to put away God and Jesus, Allah and Buddha and all these different religions that Satan spit out his mouth with the waters and come back to the true God. Go ahead.
Verse 28. Then Yeshua answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith.
See, that was the key. Her faith in the true God, the true understanding. She understood that healing was only going to come from this place, true healing. So because of your faith is so great to put everything, your culture aside. See, that's what she did. That'll give you a deeper idea. She put her whole culture aside. That's what like Italians would do and come to be with us. Like Germans would do, Irish would do. They would put all that aside and be like, you know what? The truth is with these people, not with what I follow as my nation. So for her to put that aside and believe in Christ that can heal her, her faith was so great that they put this in the Bible to be a story as a memorial to show that it don't matter who you are. If you believe and understand and have the truth and know where to find it, go to it and believe it and you'll receive what you're asking for through the Most High. That's why she was given the gift. Because of your faith, sister, I'm going to heal your daughter. And when I do it, it's for the glory of the Most High to understand that Christ was dealing with the power of the Creator God that was for all men if they humble themselves, repent, be baptized, and come follow Israel. See, it's not really complicated, but the issue is arrogance. You know, people want to be connected to their own group. You know, that's why, you know, and I hate that it's one thing about us. The majority of us, we know how to congregate with everybody. In a way, we really never necessarily had a choice. It was part of slavery. You had to operate with everybody because you was working pretty much for everybody. But the other nations only had to deal with us when they wanted to. See, and they thought that was a big deal. You know, I live in the suburbs. I live here and there. I only had to deal with the inner city people when I feel like it. But the inner city people is going to be given the truth. See, the humble, the meek is going to be given the way to heaven. So if you only deal with them when you feel like it and establish your own way, when it's time to find the way to salvation, you're going to be going a whole different direction. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Meaning, yeah, you might have put this together with good intentions, thinking that you were bringing salvation to your people when you first must go through these Jews to receive salvation. There's a pecking order, the Father, the Son, Israel, then the other nations. You got to go through that way. You can't jump over no one in this. It's a kingdom. So when Christ is bringing back a kingdom, understand our kingdom in real life is established. The king, the queen, the prince, then the priests and kings that will be in rulership positions, then the outer courts, then the Gentiles. And if you follow suit, you'll be part of the kingdom. But that's the only way. There's no way you can say, I can jump over Israel to receive more of the kingdom than them. Where it's not, the kingdom was meant for Israel. The original plan was to be one nation under the Most High. But the Most High brought other nations to punish Israel for their sins. See, that goes without saying. When we sin, the Most High sent the other nations to take us down. When the other nations worship the fallen angels of gods, he sent us in to take them down. See, fair exchange ain't no robbery. And that's why we have to walk according to the Most High so we can be the light of the world. So then now the Most High has stopped warring against us. And then now we can be a light. Go ahead, finish that last scripture.
Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour.
Her daughter was made whole from that very hour, that very hour because of her belief and faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please the Most High. So you have to believe, you have to understand, you want to be part of it. And there's nothing wrong with letting go what you used to know to be the truth and coming to what you see and revealed to you to be the truth. That's why after Christ was crucified, for a better use of a word, religion, it grew because it came with miracles and healing. And the other nations was not doing any of this. The only thing you can get out of the other nations possibly was some palm reading, looking into the future, seers and different things, astrology, going into the stars, but they were dealing with spirits. And Paul, remember when Paul went out and healed the woman and they tried to stone Paul because she didn't have the ability no more to connect with these spirits? See, that's what the other nations are dealing with. And now, because it's close to the end, the Most High said, I'm going to darken these soothsayers' eyes to where they can't get the wisdom from the stars no more. So when they look and go to these soothsayers to get information, they'll send them this way and it'll be the wrong direction, they'll lose. He'll send them that way and it'll be the wrong direction at that particular time and they'll lose. The Most High is darkening, so where now they don't know what to do. So now Satan knows his time is coming closer to an end, so now it's time for war. Now it's time to destroy. Now it's time to make Donald Trump your next president. So I'm saying, they're putting stuff in your way to show you that, listen, the end is coming, whether you ready or not. So it behooves us to get underneath the law, get behind Christ, keep these commandments. Because Christ said your salvation is closer than you would perceive. Meaning the end is right around the corner. We planning for Christmas and Easter and New Year's, I'm being sarcastic, thinking that there's a future date for us, whereas we should be thankful for every day, day after day. Thank you, Most High. Thank you, Most High, for another day to repent, to get myself in order. Outside of that, all right, that's our lesson today.